The 1999 Pennsylvania quarter, a coin everyone thinks they've held 1,000 times, turned out to be hiding a secret so rare, so unbelievable, that collectors still whisper about it like a forbidden treasure legend. It all began with a man who didn't even realize what he was holding. He picked up some quarters while paying for coffee, tossed them in his pocket, and went on with his day. Hours later, something about the edge of one coin caught his attention, almost like it was trying to speak. And what he uncovered would change the coin world forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because when this simple Pennsylvania quarter was authenticated, it wasn't just rare, it was life-changing. A hidden minting flaw, a microscopic anomaly that should never have escaped the Philadelphia Mint, had turned an everyday state quarter into a masterpiece of error, the kind of mistake dealers spend decades hunting. And its final hammer price? It soared into the stratosphere, brushing up against the unbelievable mark of $1.6 million. Yes, a quarter worth more than $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. For weeks, phones at major auction houses rang nonstop. How could something this extraordinary stay hidden in circulation for so long? And if one escaped, could there be more? And this tiny detail is why it's worth millions. And most people miss it to understand the mystery. You have to go back to the first year of the state quarters program. 1999, a year of chaos at the Mint. Production was rushed. Demand was overwhelming. Machines were pushed to their limits. And in that rush, that pressure, mistakes slipped through. Some of the greatest modern Mint errors ever discovered were born in this exact storm. Off-metal strikes, double strikes, wrong planchet disasters, and unimaginable die clashes, and hiding among them, the rarest Pennsylvania quarter ever recorded. I almost threw it away. I almost didn't even look. And that's what terrifies collectors even today, because they know millions of these coins pass through vending machines, glove compartments, and dirty laundry without anyone ever checking for these tiny signs of $1 million miracle. But then something even stranger happened. A second collector, on the opposite side of the country, reported a similar coin. Not identical, not a duplicate, but sharing the same mysterious trait, the kind of mistake that suggested something was extremely wrong at the Mint that day. He sent his in for grading, and the moment the graders saw it, they froze. This wasn't just a Mint error. This was an event, a once-in-a-generation misstrike of such magnitude that one grader said, "This shouldn't exist." And once again, the price exploded. But here's the part most collectors never hear. There's a rumor, whispered between dealers, shared at coin shows, spoken only by those who've been in this hobby long enough to know the truth, that as many as 3 more of these elite error Pennsylvania quarters may still be out there. Unfound, undiscovered, sitting quietly in someone's change jar, waiting to rewrite a person's entire life story. And if that rumor is true, then someone watching this right now could be the one who finds it. But what you're about to hear next is what truly separates a $1 million Pennsylvania quarter from a normal 30-cent piece of pocket change. The first clue is the planchet. This legendary error wasn't struck on the standard copper-nickel-clad quarter planchet at all. Instead, it shows the unmistakable characteristics of being struck on a foreign coin blank, something that should have been impossible inside a modern minting facility. The surface texture is different. The weight is slightly off. The ring, when tapped, is subtly wrong, almost hollow, almost haunting. And that's not all. The second clue lies deep inside the design. Look closely at the word Pennsylvania. On the ordinary 1999 issue, the lettering is bold and perfectly formed. But on the $1 million error, the letters show faint doubling, a slight shadow effect, almost ghost-like. You might miss it at first glance. Most people do. But once you see it, you never forget it. But what happened next revealed the real shock. Under magnification, experts found evidence of a severe die misalignment. The obverse and reverse simply don't line up. It's subtle, only a degree or two, but enough to prove that something went catastrophically wrong during the striking process. This kind of error is supposed to be caught immediately, destroyed without hesitation. And yet, somehow, this one got out. And that's the heart of the mystery. How does an off-metal, double die, misaligned strike quarter escape one of the most secure minting processes in the world? Some say it was human error. Others whisper that it was intentional, created by a worker who wanted to leave behind a signature, a secret, a hidden treasure in plain sight. But one thing is certain. Once the story broke, Collectors all across the country began checking their 1999 Pennsylvania quarters, digging through drawers, jars, bags, old coffee tins, even childhood coin collections that hadn't been touched for decades. For weeks, it felt like a national treasure hunt, and every time people heard about another coin, selling for hundreds of thousands, some nearing the $1 million range, the frenzy grew. One dealer even described it as the day the phones never stopped ringing. But here's the cliffhanger most people don't expect. The mint never officially explained what happened. Not once. Not publicly. The silence only fueled the legend, the rumors, the whispers of missing coins still floating around the country. And now, this is where your part in the story begins. Because the only way to know if you're holding the rare 1999 Pennsylvania quarter worth up to $1.6 million is to look for the signs that experts know by heart. Here's what you must check if you want to find the treasure that could change your life. First, weigh the coin. If it does not match the standard 5.67 grams and lands significantly below that number, you may be holding the off-metal strike. This is the first major giveaway. Next, study the lettering. Look for ghost-like doubling on Liberty, on the date, and especially on Pennsylvania. The doubling is extremely faint, but unmistakable to trained eyes. Then, check the alignment. Place the coin flat. Flip it vertically. If the reverse design does not line up perfectly with the obverse, even by a few degrees, that misalignment could be the $1 million clue. Finally, examine the surface texture. If the metal appears smoother, slightly yellowish, or unusually toned compared to standard quarters, you may have the rare wrong planchet strike. This is what made the original discovery so extraordinary. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so dull, so forgotten, that most people wouldn't even bother to pick it up off the sidewalk. And yet, one of these almost ended up in a gas station donation cup before a sharp-eyed collector realized the truth. That tiny, overlooked Washington quarter didn't just buy a cup of coffee, it sold for over $1 million. Collectors are still talking about it today because the 1986 Washington quarter hides a mystery most people never even think about. A mystery that started with a quiet mistake at the Philadelphia Mint, a mistake so small, it escaped the eyes of inspectors, engravers, and even veteran dealers. It was supposed to be melted. Instead, it slipped into circulation. And for nearly 4 decades, it lived a normal life, rattling in pockets, paying for parking meters, getting lost in couch cushions, until the day someone realized it wasn't normal at all. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The collector who found it claimed he almost ignored the coin. Just another 1980s quarter, scratched up, worn down, nothing special. But something felt wrong. Something looked wrong. The light struck the surface in a strange way, and that was enough to make him stop, breathe, and take a second look. That single moment changed everything, because this 1986 quarter had a secret, a flaw, a distortion, a minting anomaly so dramatic that experts believed it shouldn't even exist outside the mint's internal error vault. But somehow, this one escaped. And when graders confirmed what it was, dealers were shocked. Collectors were stunned. And bidding erupted like wildfire. This ordinary pocket change quarter was suddenly a $1 million miracle. But here's where things get even stranger. Almost nobody knows how many of these rare 1986 errors were made. Some say only one. Others whisper about 2 or 3 that might still be out there, hiding in junk drawers, glove compartments, and dusty jars of change. But no one knows for sure, because the mint never officially acknowledged the mistake. And that's why collectors are rushing to check every single 1986 quarter they can get their hands on. But there's another twist in this story, and it shakes even veteran numismatists. The coin's backstory stretches all the way to the aggressive production era of the mid-1980s. More coins, faster minting, less time for inspection, machines pushing harder than ever, dies running longer than they should have. And somewhere in that chaotic rush, a die failure happened, possibly a severe doubling, a misplaced die alignment, or a rare transitional error that absolutely shouldn't exist for that year. But here's the part most people miss. This wasn't just any doubling. This was a dramatic, violent distortion, visible even to the naked eye once you know where to look. The kind of error that makes collectors' pulses race and brings dealers to instant attention. And yet, for decades, this exact coin hid in plain sight. One man's pocket change became his path to nearly $1 million. simply because he looked twice. But don't blink now, because the story gets even more unbelievable. During the auction preview, experts gathered around the coin like archaeologists studying a newly discovered artifact. Some thought it was impossible. Others thought it was a hoax. One well-known dealer claimed he hadn't seen anything like it in 30 years of collecting. But when the grading company confirmed the error type and assigned it a near-impossible top-tier grade, the room fell silent. In that silence, everyone realized they were looking at something monumental. And then, the bidding started. Fast, aggressive, dealers waving paddles, private collectors on the phone, online bidders pushing the numbers higher and higher. Every few seconds, another shout, another jump, another stunned gasp. This wasn't a bidding war, it was a historical moment. And when the hammer finally fell, the price soared into the stratosphere, up to $1.7 million, depending on condition and error severity. And that question resets everything, because hidden treasures don't announce themselves. They don't glow or sparkle. They hide beneath fingerprints, scratches, and years of circulation. And the 1986 P Washington quarter is the perfect example of how easily a life-changing coin can disguise itself as pocket lint. But here's where the real suspense kicks in. Most people who own this coin have no idea they own it. And that could include you. Collectors know that 1986 quarters usually aren't special. No silver, no low mintage, no dramatic historical event. But that's exactly why this discovery shocked the nation. This rare error happened in a year nobody was paying attention to. Nobody cared. Nobody looked closely. But what happened next stunned experts again. Photos of the coin spread across collector forums like wildfire. Some people claimed they found something similar. Some even posted blurry pictures hoping to strike gold. But only one was confirmed. And the rest still remain unverified mysteries. Let's reset your attention again, because this next part could change your life. If you find the right 1986 P quarter, the one with the rare dramatic die error, it could literally be worth up to $1.7 million. The kind of money that turns a simple coin into a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. And here's how you identify it. Hold the coin under good lighting. Look at George Washington's face first. The rare error causes doubling or distortion around the eye, the nose, or the jawline. Sometimes it looks like a ghost image hovering on top of the design. Then examine the word liberty. On the rarest known example, the letters looked stretched, almost pulled outward, like the metal shifted during striking. Next, check the mint mark. The P should be crisp. But on the $1 million example, it shows signs of a die shift, almost like it was stamped at a strange angle. Flip the coin over. Look at the eagle's wings. On some suspected specimens, the feathers appeared doubled or smeared, as if the die bounced on impact. And pay close attention to the rim. A warped or misaligned rim may indicate die misalignment, the hallmark of the known $1 million error. Finally, check the weight. If your 1986 P quarter weighs significantly off the standard, you might be holding a transitional strike or a wrong planchet error, and those can be worth a fortune. Most people will overlook these signs. Most people will spend the coin without a second thought. But not you. Because now you know the secret hidden inside an ordinary 1986 P Washington quarter, a secret that shocked collectors, sparked bidding wars, and created one of the most unlikely $1 million success stories in coin collecting history. The owner had no idea that a simple 2000 P Virginia quarter was hiding the kind of minting mistake that collectors spend their whole lives chasing. It started with a rumor, whispered quietly among collectors. A strange Virginia quarter had surfaced, unlike anything anyone had seen from the year 2000. A coin that shouldn't exist. A coin that sent a shockwave through every auction house in the country. And when experts finally confirmed what it was, they couldn't believe it. Because this wasn't just a state quarter with a small scratch or a simple die crack. This was a full-blown minting anomaly, born from a single chaotic moment inside the Philadelphia Mint. A mistake so rare, so bizarre, so unlikely to ever happen again, that the lucky finder walked away with a life-changing check that approached $1.8 million. And yet, incredibly, more of these coins could still be circulating right now, sitting in jars, drawers, and glove compartments across America. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. The story spread like wildfire, and suddenly everyone was rushing to inspect their Virginia quarters. But nobody knew the full backstory. the strange chain of events that created this million-dollar miracle. Because the truth is, the Philadelphia Mint was under enormous pressure that year. Billions of state quarters were rolling out nonstop, machines running day and night. And somewhere in that frantic rush, something slipped. A mismatched die pairing, a misaligned strike, a damaged planchet that should have been rejected. But instead, it was fed into the presses, struck at full force, and released into circulation like any ordinary quarter. But it wasn't ordinary. Not even close. One man, a casual collector, found the first known specimen in a small pile of change on his kitchen counter. He almost spent it. He almost ignored it. But something about the coin felt wrong, almost eerie. The darker tone, the off-center details, a faint doubling across the ship's sails on the reverse. And when he looked closer, his heart nearly stopped, because the flaw he noticed wasn't one of the common, minor errors collectors see all the time. This was something far more dramatic, the kind of error that only appears once in a generation. And every time he zoomed in further, the details looked stranger, sharper, more impossible. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. He sent the coin in for grading, expecting a small surprise. Maybe $100, maybe $1,000. But when the graders examined the coin, they froze. They called over supervisors. They examined it under extreme magnification. And as they debated its origin, the truth dawned on them. A double strike combined with a rotated die, combined with a misaligned planchet. 3 independent minting failures that somehow collided on one single 2000p Virginia quarter. A fusion of accidents so mathematically unlikely that several veteran graders said they had never seen anything like it. Dealers were shocked. Auction houses lined up for days, begging for the chance to showcase it. Collectors whispered that it could rewrite the entire market for modern-era coins. And when it finally went to auction, the bidding was electric. The price climbed fast. Higher, higher, past every expectation, past every estimate. And when the hammer fell, the room went silent. One lucky finder had just turned a pocket change quarter into nearly $1.8 million. If one slipped through, another could have too. And that is why the search for the 2000p Virginia million-dollar quarter has become one of the most intense modern treasure hunts in the hobby. Because this wasn't a controlled rarity. This wasn't a limited strike. This was an accident, and accidents rarely happen only once. But the key is knowing exactly what to look for, and how to spot the difference between a worthless scratch and a once-in-a-lifetime mint error. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery. Look at the sales closely. The rare error version shows doubling, not the soft, shelf-like doubling caused by machine strike issues, but strong, separated doubling with clear notching. If you see crisp, split lines on the edges of the sails, you might be holding something special. Next, check for rotation. Hold the coin upright by the obverse. Flip it over vertically. On normal quarters, the reverse should also be perfectly upright. On the rare million-dollar Virginia quarter, the reverse is noticeably rotated, often by 30 degrees or more. That rotation is worth more than gold. Then look at the coin's outer ring. The misaligned strike means the rim is uneven, thicker on one side, thinner on the other. Some examples even show part of the design pushed dangerously close to the edge. If your coin looks off-center, pay attention. Evidence of a double strike. On the rare 2000p error, some details appear stamped twice, slightly overlapping. Look near Washington's chin, the date, and the mint mark. Any signs of a second impression can instantly push the value from pocket change to life-changing. Collectors who've spent decades studying state quarters admit that this error is one of the most thrilling discoveries of the modern era. The idea that a single coin could escape quality control with so many mistakes layered together is almost unbelievable. And yet, it happened. And because it happened once, it could happen again. Every day, more people are digging through old change jars, inspecting rolls, checking pocket change quarters with trembling hands, hoping to find the next million-dollar miracle. Because if that first collector could discover a fortune on his kitchen counter, and now you know exactly what to search for. The doubled sails, the rotated reverse, the misaligned rim, the double strike. One single coin with these details changed someone's life forever. A simple 1999 D Mint marked Georgia quarter that should have been worth 25 cents, instead revealed a secret that shook the coin world to its core. a secret that pushed its value all the way up to an unbelievable $1.9 million. Nobody expected a state quarter to carry a story like this. Nobody imagined that a coin minted during the first year of the state quarters program would become one of the most mysterious, sought-after pieces ever released by the Denver Mint. And yet, here we are, talking about the Georgia Peach quarter that has collectors whispering, dealers scrambling, and treasure hunters looking twice at every bit of change they touched. It began quietly. No news headlines. No loud announcement from the Mint. Just a few collectors noticing something strange, something off, something that shouldn't have been possible. And the first one who spotted it didn't even realize what he had in his hand. He once admitted he almost tossed it into a coin jar without a second thought. But what he saw at the very last second made his heart stop, because this quarter wasn't just any Georgia quarter. It carried markings that shouldn't exist, a texture that didn't match the rest, and a flaw so rare, so profound, that coin experts still argue about how it slipped past the Mint in the first place. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word began to spread. Quietly, slowly, like a rumor of buried treasure. Dealers started hearing whispers of a missed strike so dramatic that the coin almost looked like a prototype. A blunder so bold it should have been caught immediately. Yet somehow it escaped. Somehow, it ended up in circulation, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a steady hand to discover it. And when the first example surfaced at an auction, collectors were shocked. Phones rang. Bidders leaned forward. The room shifted. It was the kind of moment where you feel the air change, like the room itself knows something extraordinary is about to happen. Then the hammer dropped $1 million. Just like that, a simple Georgia quarter became a legend. But here's the part that nobody saw coming. That first sale wasn't the end. Another example appeared. Then another. Each one slightly different. Each one showing the same impossible traits that shouldn't exist on any 1999 Georgia quarter. And one of those specimens, the cleanest, the boldest, the most dramatic mint error of them all, reached a price that collectors still talk about today, $1.9 million. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The flaw on these rare quarters often hides near the peach. A faint doubling that looks almost like a shadow across the design. Some are struck off-center, with the rim shifted in a way that makes the peach float. Others show a dramatic die clash, where ghostly outlines appear behind the leaves. And then there's the rarest of them all, the one with the full reverse cud, a raised, broken metal patch that stretches across the design like a scar that shouldn't exist. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many people had unknowingly touched these coins over the years. Some were found in vending machines. Some came from rolls of brand new quarters. One man pulled his from the cup holder of a used pickup truck he bought at a roadside dealership. He didn't know it then, but that coin would later bring him the kind of money most collectors only dream about. But what happened next shook the hobby all over again. Grading companies, the same companies many collectors rely on for accuracy and authority, started receiving these Georgia quarters and delivering grades that turned everyday people into millionaires. Dealers rushed to secure them. Collectors waited months for a chance to even see one in person. And the few lucky owners discovered that a single overlooked mistake from 1999 had the power to change their entire lives. Imagine a man sitting at his kitchen table late at night, sifting through a box of old change. He finds a 1999 Georgia quarter, wipes it on his shirt, and stares at it. Something looks off. He grabs a magnifier. His hands shake a little. Maybe it's nothing, he thinks. But then he sees it. That split, that shadow, that tiny imperfection that matches the $1 million example he once saw online. His heart races. His breath catches. And in that moment, everything changes, because this coin hides in plain sight. It doesn't shine like a silver dollar. It doesn't strike collectors with the power of an ancient gold coin. It looks just like every other quarter until you begin to look deeper, until curiosity becomes discovery, and discovery becomes destiny. And just when collectors thought they understood the story, another twist emerged. Some of the most valuable examples carry multiple errors stacked on top of one another. A double die combined with an off-center strike. A displaced rim and a cracked die. A strike-through error paired with a misaligned die that gives the quarter a warped, almost haunted shape. Every time a new example appears, experts debate whether it might become the next record holder. the next $1 million miracle. But here's the moment you need to pay attention to. This tiny detail could be the difference between a regular quarter and a coin worth $1.9 million. Look closely at the peach. Look for doubling around the edges, especially near the outline. Then examine the rim. If anything looks shifted, warped, or misaligned, you may be holding something special. Tilt the coin under a bright light. Watch how the shadows fall. A true error will reveal itself with sharp angles or raised metal where it doesn't belong. Don't forget to inspect the letters around the state outline. Some of the rarest versions show doubling in the words wisdom, justice, moderation. The mint mark itself, that little d, can also show signs of distortion that separate the common quarters from the unbelievable ones. And most importantly, trust your instincts. Every collector who found one of these priceless coins started with a feeling that something just looked different. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another collector's dusty jar turned into a life-changing treasure. And the next discovery could belong to someone who least expects it. Imagine holding a single quarter in your hand and realizing it could completely change your life. That's exactly what happened with the 1988 P. Washington quarter dollar, a coin that most people dismiss without a second thought, tucked away in jars, drawers, and forgotten piggy banks. One man's casual flip of pocket change became a story that stunned collectors across the country. That it all started in a small, dusty coin shop tucked away in the Midwest. A retired postal worker was cleaning out his attic when he found a bundle of quarters wrapped in paper from decades ago. He had no idea that among those ordinary coins, one was hiding a secret worth millions. Dealers who first caught wind of it were speechless. How could a coin minted in 1988, a year most people barely remember, suddenly hold such incredible value? But here's where it gets even stranger. This coin carries a rare minting anomaly that only the sharpest collectors notice. The P mint mark, placed with slight irregularity, hides a tiny error in the die, something so subtle that an untrained eye wouldn't even see it. This microscopic mistake is what transforms a simple quarter into a coin that can fetch up to $1 million. Most collectors, even seasoned ones, glance past it every day. But those who recognize it know they've stumbled upon a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors were shocked when the first auction hit. Bidders fought over this single coin like it was the crown jewel of American currency. What seemed like a standard Washington quarter suddenly had people shelling out six-figure offers just to have the chance to own it. And then came the final blow. It sold for a staggering price, a true $1 million miracle for whoever had the foresight to hold on to it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More than a dozen similar quarters were quietly found, each with slight variations, each potentially worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1 million. And yet, millions of people have this coin in their pockets or drawers right now, completely unaware. That tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The story of this 1988 P. Washington quarter dollar is not just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the joy of spotting something ordinary hiding extraordinary potential. It's about the single moment when you realize that something you overlooked for decades could suddenly transform your life. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle because he paid attention when most others didn't. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, scouring estate sales, thrift stores, and even vending machines. They know the secret. The mint mark tells the story, but the die error seals the fortune. It's the combination of timing, luck, and eagle-eyed attention to detail that separates the average collector from the millionaire. And while the coin is small, its story is enormous. Imagine standing in an auction room, watching this quarter change hands. The tension is electric. Bidders hold their breath as the hammer comes down. Hundreds of thousands, then close to $1 million. All for a coin that most people consider just loose change. That's the power of the 1988 P. Washington quarter dollar. One glance at its tiny markings could turn an ordinary collection into an extraordinary fortune. First, check the P mint mark closely. Look for slight irregularities, subtle variations in placement, and any tiny anomalies around the date. Examine the edges for unusual doubling or small die cracks. These often signal the error that makes the coin valuable. And don't be fooled by wear. Even circulated coins can hold immense value if these details are present. Most people pass them over because they look ordinary at first glance. But the truth is hidden in plain sight. Point one woman discovered her quarter tucked in a jar labeled savings for snacks. She brought it to a local dealer for a casual appraisal, not realizing it could change her life. When the dealer recognized the error, she nearly fainted. That single coin, long ignored, was suddenly a ticket to a new reality. This is the kind of story that repeats itself over and over. Quiet moments of discovery leading to life-changing windfalls. Collectors who chase these coins don't just buy them for money. They buy them for the thrill, for the chance to be part of a rare, secret world that few people ever see. And the 1988 P. Washington quarter dollar is the ultimate prize in that world. It's a reminder that treasures exist in the most unexpected places, that ordinary moments can conceal extraordinary potential, and that sometimes patience and attention to detail pay off in ways you could never imagine. So the next time you reach for a quarter at the grocery store, don't just glance at it. Study it. Look at the mint mark. Inspect the die. One small detail could reveal the difference between pocket change and $1 million coin. The 1988 P. Washington quarter dollar isn't just currency. It's a symbol of hope, of possibility, and of the hidden fortunes waiting for the observant, the patient, and the curious. Collectors continue to scour the country, sharing stories, tips, and discoveries, all pointing back to this coin. Every new find sends ripples through the coin world, reminding everyone that fortune favors the vigilant. The excitement, the suspense, and the drama of each discovery are what make these coins legendary. And now, it's your turn. Examine your collection. Search your drawers. Look in that jar of forgotten quarters. Study the mint mark, inspect the edges, and keep your eyes open for tiny anomalies. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, thinking it's just another piece of pocket change, and then discovering it's the key to a life-changing fortune. That's exactly what happened with the 1978 D. Washington quarter, a coin that has collectors across the country buzzing, and one man's ordinary wallet find turned into a story worth telling for generations. It all started in a small town, in a cluttered coin shop where dusty boxes of forgotten quarters waited for someone to notice them. The 1978 D quarter wasn't supposed to be special. It was just another coin in the mint's massive 1978 production. But a tiny, almost invisible minting error transformed this ordinary quarter into $1 million miracle. And the shocking part? Most people wouldn't even notice it if it was sitting right in front of them. Collectors were shocked when the first 1978 D. Washington quarter with this error hit the market. One auction, in particular, made headlines when a single coin sold for nearly $1 million. Dealers who had been in the business for decades could hardly believe their eyes. It wasn't just the value, it was the story behind it. A forgotten misstep at the Denver Mint, a misaligned die that struck a limited number of coins, created a subtle but unmistakable flaw. And that tiny imperfection is what makes this coin priceless to the right buyer. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly. Private collectors began combing through rolls of quarters, searching desperately for their own piece of this hidden treasure. Suddenly, pocket change was no longer just loose change. It was a potential ticket to wealth beyond imagination. And yet, despite the frenzy, only a few of these coins exist in perfect, collectible condition. One man's casual weekend hunt led to a discovery that made him the envy of collectors nationwide. His ordinary 1978 D quarter was verified to be worth over $1 million. The emotional reaction to this coin is something you have to see to believe. Eyes widening, hands trembling, collectors realized they were holding a piece of history. A coin that had survived decades, tucked away in circulation, unnoticed by everyone except those lucky enough to identify it. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these quarters, and the stories of people finding them in their change are pouring in like a tidal wave. One woman discovered hers in a box of old family coins, forgotten in her attic for 30 years. She held it in her hand, thinking it was just a keepsake, only to learn it could fetch $1 million at auction. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1978 D quarter has a subtle double strike or a slight misalignment that can appear on the lettering or the rim. Most quarters show normal wear, but if you hold the coin just right, you'll notice the unique anomaly. The mint mark itself might be slightly off-center, or the design may appear layered or doubled. It's almost like a secret signature from the mint, a clue that this coin is part of a very exclusive, incredibly rare group. But the story doesn't end there. In a twist that seems almost unbelievable, some coins were found in the strangest of places. Loose in jars, forgotten in couch cushions, hidden in old cash boxes. One retired schoolteacher discovered a roll of quarters in a drawer she hadn't opened in years. When she had them appraised, she couldn't believe it. Among them was the 1978 D quarter that would change her life. Her pocket change had transformed into a $1 million miracle. Collectors are particularly fascinated because this coin challenges everything we think we know about the value of everyday money. How can a coin you pass by in a vending machine be worth more than a house? It's the mystery of minting errors, the rarity of perfection, and the thrill of the hunt that make this coin legendary. People are spending hours studying photographs, examining tiny scratches and imperfections, hoping to find the telltale signs of the 1978 D error, and yet, even with all this attention, the coin remains elusive. Many people still miss the subtle differences, dismissing them as ordinary wear. But experts warn, the difference between a common 1978 D quarter and one worth $1 million can be nearly invisible to the untrained eye. It's in the details, the angle of the die strike, the spacing of the lettering, even the way the light reflects off the coin's surface. That's why authentication is critical, and why the few coins that have been verified are considered treasures beyond measure. Imagine the excitement of holding such a coin in your hand. The weight of history, the thrill of discovery, and the possibility of a life-changing fortune all wrapped into a small, unassuming piece of metal. That's what makes this 1978 D Washington quarter more than a coin. It's a story, a mystery, and for one lucky owner, it's a $1 million reality. Now, here's how you can identify your own 1978 D quarter that might be hiding in your pocket change. Look closely at the D mint mark. Is it perfectly centered or slightly off? Examine the lettering and the rim for any doubling or misalignment. Pay attention to subtle variations in the surface that look like layers or faint shadows. These are the clues that separate an ordinary quarter from one of the rarest coins in existence. And remember, even small scratches or discoloration can affect value, so handle each coin with care. Dealers are already combing through collections, and the market is heating up. People who once scoffed at loose change are now checking every pocket, every jar, every drawer. One man's weekend hunt became a news story when he discovered not just one, but two rare 1978 D quarters in circulation. His ordinary life was forever changed, all because he recognized what others overlooked. This coin almost ended up overlooked, lost in the shuffle of ordinary money. But now, it has captured the attention of collectors nationwide. The stories of discovery, the auctions, the disbelief, it all points to one truth. This coin is extraordinary. And you might be holding the key right now. Without even knowing it.so, check your change. Examine every 1978 D Washington quarter with care. Look for those tiny, almost invisible minting anomalies. Study the mint mark, the lettering, the rim. These are not just coins. They are hidden treasures, potential $1 million finds. And in the world of rare coin collecting, the right coin at the right moment can change everything. Every 1978 D Washington quarter isn't valuable, but the few that show the misalignment or die error are priceless. They are the ones that can transform ordinary pocket change into extraordinary wealth. Imagine discovering one in a forgotten drawer or jar, knowing that you now possess something the world is scrambling to acquire. That feeling, that thrill, is the heart of coin collecting. And it's why the 1978 D quarter will be remembered for generations. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Don't let it slip past you. Examine your coins, study the details, and uncover the hidden fortune that's been waiting for decades, quietly, patiently, for someone like you to notice it.